Hello, good morning everyone, hopefully you can hear me. So my name's Barry Byrne, I'm a technical solutions architect. I've been at Nexus for 16 years and for 2 of those I've been focused on artificial intelligence. So today I'm going to talk you through what AI is, hopefully how it can benefit your business. I'm going to put my own opinions across, which hopefully will raise some debate in our Q&A around AI. And I'm going to show you what other large organisations are doing. It lasts around about 30 minutes, and then we're going to get into 30 minutes of demonstrations of AI technologies that I've built and that we use in Nexus. So why would we talk about AI? Well, why not? Everyone's talking about AI, but we really want to focus on how AI can help your business. So first of all, AI or artificial intelligence, the most heavily invested technology globally for the last 2 years. You've seen it on your phones. You'll have it if you use WhatsApp. You now see a little Meta logo. If you use Strava, you get a summary. If you Google something now, you get a little summary at the top. They're all AI-driven tools, and we find that they're more prolific now in our day-to-day life. So Microsoft Ignite, end of 2024. If you don't know what Ignite is, it's a yearly show by Microsoft where they announce their technology roadmap, typically for the following year. That Ignite roadshow was completely AI driven. They barely mention anything else because you're a good indicator of how technology is going to look in 2025. One of the big drivers for AI, certainly around businesses, how it can help you reduce costs and alleviate your time. So the big driver of AI is how can I take a boring, monotonous task and get it to do it for me so I can free my time and my colleagues' time to do something more productive. So that's what we're going to talk about today. All major technology companies now are heavily investing in AI. There's some logos at the bottom there. They're not all there, but obviously Microsoft are making huge investments. There's xAI, which is owned by Elon Musk. One that's not on there, but you've probably heard in the news recently is DeepSeek. They're a Chinese AI lab. And another one that not many people have heard of, but it is very good, a company called Anthropic. In terms of investment, when the US government changed start of this year, they announced a $500 billion project between OpenAI, Oracle, and a company called SoftBank. And that $500 billion will be invested over 5 years to build data centers purely for AI. They're already around 75% complete on one that's based in Texas, and that will only be used for AI and nothing else. So that's a huge amount of money over a 5-year period. In addition, the EU, they've announced $200 billion over 5 years to build data centers in Europe. So that's another good indication of where AI is going when you're getting governments starting to invest money in technologies. Final point is increased adoption in small to medium business. So the US Chamber of Commerce did a survey last year of small to medium businesses in the US and found that 98% of them are already using AI in some way, shape or form to complement their business. So AI is no longer a tool that can only be afforded by large companies. The cost of it over time has dramatically decreased and made it more accessible to small to medium businesses. There's a video that's going to play on the right-hand side now. The chap on the right in the video is the CEO of Amazon. You've probably heard of him before. And he was making a talk at a summit at the end of last year around how he feels AI is going.
You're doing at Amazon?
AI. Yeah, so I mean, there are a few things, but it's 95% AI.
And where do you think?
It's just so, because we are literally working on 1,000 applications internally. So AI, you have to remember, modern AI is a horizontal enabling layer. It can be used to improve everything. It will be in everything. This is most like electricity. These kind of horizontal layers, like electricity and compute and now artificial intelligence, they go everywhere. I guarantee you there is not a single application that you can think of that is not going to be made better by AI.
Okay, so our last point there where he says there's not a single application that can't be made better by AI is something that I completely agree with and something I'm going to show you today. So again, the CEO of a very, very large technology company has gone back to that company after pulling himself away to ensure that they're moving in the right direction with AI. So that's an example of why it's becoming so prolific. So what is AI? So just to explain it, essentially it is the ability for a machine or computer to perform a task that would normally require human intelligence. It's literally as simple as that. That's very different to automation that we're normally used to, right? So in IT, you might have certain things that are automated and it'll go through a process, and if some errors occur, it can cater for those errors and still continue. Automation with AI is completely different. You can cater for tens of, if not hundreds of thousands of different scenarios because it has a level of intelligence. And we'll talk about what that level is at in just a short while. How it gets that intelligence is through learning. So the boom of AI came around in 2017, actually by Google. They invented something called the transformer architecture. They put out a public research paper called Attention is All You Need. I'm not going to go into that technically, but essentially it's enabled this huge boom in artificial intelligence. They made that paper open source, which means anyone can take what they've written, adapt it and use it for their own needs. And that's where OpenAI and ChatGPT came from. So a lot of people would say Google made one of the biggest mistakes in history by putting that out for essentially free. But indeed, it's probably accelerated AI to the position that it's in today. In addition to the learning, there's decision making, and that comes through training artificial intelligence. You may have heard of this before, training and models. So what they do is they get a huge amount of data from the internet and other sources, and they train it to learn around this data. It learns patterns, and everything that it does is based around a prediction. Now, there are companies that exist, and all they do is gather data for AI organizations. One of them is called Scale. They just collect data, they label it, and they pass it to companies like OpenAI to train these models on. And that's why sometimes, right, when you use ChatGPT, if you've used it, can I have a raise of hands of who's used ChatGPT? If you haven't, it's totally okay. Don't feel free to put your hands up. It looks like most of you have. It's got something called a knowledge cutoff, right? So you can ask it a question, but it only knows to a certain date. And that's because that's when that model was trained and that's where that data was current. I mean, it is complemented now by web searches, but that's where decision making comes from. Reinforcement, that's something that's quite prolific now in terms of training models. So reinforcement, you probably have seen before, but might not have heard of the term. It's called reinforcement with human feedback. And when you have a chat in ChatGPT, have you ever noticed the thumbs up, thumbs down? That's giving feedback to them on what the response was like. And that feedback is used to either fine tune the model more, and that means adjusting it more towards what a human would expect, or when they create a new model, they use that feedback to further improve it. So essentially, that's what AI is. So what's the end goal of AI? We're seeing it, as I mentioned earlier, infiltrate its way into our daily lives, but what is the actual point of it? Why was it created? So the slide that we've got here are the 5 levels of AI as denoted by OpenAI, the makers of ChatGPT. So level 1, we're all used to, it's chatbots. Chatbots have been around for a long time. At the start, years ago, I think we can all agree they were probably pretty dumb. They're relatively good now. You can chat to them in something called natural language processing. So it's like having a regular human conversation. So you've achieved level 1. Level 2 was achieved last year, and OpenAI and other labs brought out reasoning models. So if you've ever heard of the O1 or O3 models, and don't worry if you haven't, because we're going to explain what they are, they do reasoning. So when we as humans look at a problem, say I'm going to take the headlight out on my car. I'll look at the car and go, right, I need to take the headlight out, but actually I need these tools and I need to take the bumper off first. Then I can take the headlight out and replace the headlight and put it back on again. We go through a train of thought, don't we, to get to a resolution to that problem. That's what reasoning models do. And when you use a reasoning model now on ChatGPT or by other vendors, it prints out what its thinking is. And it's really insightful to read because it's actually very similar to how you would think in your head. And when they introduce reasoning, they're actually able to reach PhD level intelligence in terms of a human benchmark. So they're very, very clever. Reasoning models are mainly used for specific math, science, or coding problems. You wouldn't, ask a reasoning model, how many different colours of Labrador there are, because that's probably a little bit too basic for it. But yeah, if you're in ChatGPT and you want to know, you see O1 and O3 mini, they're reasoning models. They think harder to solve more complex questions. Level 3, they came about, this is agents, they came about at the end of last year, start of this year. Agents are able to act on their own and make decisions autonomously. So you can configure an agent. I'm going to show you a voice agent a little bit later today. And that agent will be able to handle a certain request. It might be able to log a support ticket in our case. It can act completely on its own and complete tasks for you. Many kind of industry analysts say 2025 is the year of the agent. and I would tend to agree. I think we're going to see those pop up in a lot of places to complete a lot of tasks. Level 4 is AI innovators. That's an agent's ability to rewrite its own code and improve itself, which sounds like it's something from the Terminator, if you ever watched that, Skynet. But there have been instances of this already. So there was a Japanese AI company. They set an agent a task and said, you need to complete this task in this time frame. So when the agent was starting to run out of time, it rewrote its own code to give it more time to complete the task. So that's an idea of what an innovator will be. It will self-improve over time to make itself more efficient. And then level 5, they call it organizational AI. You may have heard this referred to as artificial general intelligence. And it's when an AI model has the equivalent level of intelligence to a human being, and it can act in exactly the same way. We're not saying human emotional intelligence, we're saying intelligence. It will be able to do what we can do at work. Above that, after artificial general intelligence, is something called artificial superintelligence, which would be an agent that is between 10 and 100 times more smarter than a human being. So I know, again, as Sarah said, it's the 1st of April and it's April Fool's Day, but this is not a joke. This is real. So one of the original researchers at OpenAI left the company about 18 months ago to start his own company called Safe Superintelligence. So he's not worried about artificial general intelligence. He wants to go for the ultimate. And you'll say, well, why do we need this? So if we think about a really basic case in healthcare, so we want to try and solve problems around cancer. So at the moment, as an example, there might be 50 researchers working on a cancer issue. Well, what if we've got artificial general intelligence and I can have 10,000 agents at PhD level working on exactly the same problem? It's the same for fusion energy. You can use artificial general intelligence and superintelligence to solve problems that we haven't yet been able to solve as human beings. Now you're probably asking, what else does that solve? It can solve a lot of other things, but it can also introduce a lot of problems. How is that going to impact society? That's a bigger discussion for today. What does it mean to us as humans and jobs? Who knows? It's a conversation for a different day, but that's basically where artificial intelligence is going. That's OpenAI's roadmap. It differs between labs, but in general, that's the forecast. Interestingly, some people say they will have reached artificial general intelligence by the end of this year. Some people say that might be a little bit optimistic. It depends on who you listen to. But the rate of change in artificial intelligence is extremely rapid. Okay, areas of AI interest. Sorry, I'm just saving my voice. Generative AI is something you're all used to. Generative AI is you type a message in and you get a response using something called natural language processing. We've all used chatbots, ticketing systems, things of that nature. Application integration, probably everyone in this room has got a line of business application they use, where recently that vendor has added AI into it to do something. That something might be useful. It might not be useful in most cases, as many companies will jump on the AI bandwagon, so to speak, to add AI into their products to make it more attractive. Statistics centralization is where you would collate data from many different systems and display it centrally. Now, we're used to things like Power BI doing that, right? You get a nice dashboard. And there's a level of AI in Power BI, but it's not as good as what you can do if you develop something yourself. You can ask questions on the data. You could have an agent to give you a forecast or change things in systems. So statistics is a really good use of AI in general. Application development. I'd probably hazard a guess that in most cases, applications that you use internally in your business, you will not find an off-the-shelf product that will resolve problems that you have. So we've all probably got something where we wish we could automate it. If I could get this to be automated, I could save time. Or maybe someone's got a job that's saturated by stats. Well, we have a customer actually that I won't name who they are. It's someone's job to collate a lot of information from things like water pumps and electricity meters. And the poor soul puts them all in a spreadsheet. And he has to collate them all at the end of the month for their KPI. And that's his job. And he just wants to automate it. And AI will allow them to do that. So that's what we can do with app development. Safety is quite a contentious topic around AI. Some countries have quite strict laws around AI already. In the UK, we don't have anything of that nature yet. AI is covered under GDPR, and that's something that not everyone is aware of. And we also have something called the AI Safety Institute, but they provide guidance as opposed to legislation. In Europe, they have slightly different laws that are a little more stringent. But AI safety in general, many of you probably won't know, you can type a message into ChatGPT constructed in a certain way and get around its safety mechanisms to get a response you shouldn't have. As an example, I could type a message and ask it how to make a bomb, and it would tell me. And the reason that it knows that is it's been trained on data from the internet. Some of that data is good, some of that data is not so good, and they try and have a level of protection to stop you from getting to it. So yeah, safety is quite a contentious topic. It's probably not where it should be, but it will improve over time, no doubt. Prompt engineering sounds bizarre, but it's actually how you write to an AI model greatly affects the outcome that you get. So OpenAI have an article on how you should actually type to it. And most people probably won't start a chat with ChatGPT saying, I want you to be an expert accountant that knows everything about accountancy in the UK. You need to give it a persona. And if you give it that persona at the start, you actually get a much better response than just typing a general question. So if you've not seen their guidance on how to talk to ChatGPT, I'd strongly recommend you read it. There's some really important information in there that will give you better results. The final one is custom GPTs and fine tuning. You might ask models like ChatGPT about something specific to your business sector, and the chances are it probably won't know. If you fine tune a model or create a custom GPT, you can add your own data into it and almost like train your own little version to make sure you get data back about your specific company. It costs a little bit extra, but again, you can train a model that's more focused towards what you do. So there's plenty of areas to go through. Market investment, huge amounts of money we're talking about. So is this 2024 market investment of last year? And I've just taken headline figures. So Microsoft actually invested 150 billion into AI last year alone, which is a huge amount. And their CEO has also promised another 80 billion this year alone. I'm going to talk a little bit about Microsoft later in terms of what my opinion on their products are. However, they have partnered with a US investment firm called BlackRock to invest 100 billion, not in AI, and actually in power stations. Because one of the byproducts of AI is when they're training models or you're typing into ChatGPT and getting responses, they use an exponential amount of energy. It's eye-watering the amount of energy these data centers use. Graphics processing units are not particularly energy efficient when used at scale. So they're investing $100 billion to build new power stations to fuel AI data centers. So how that fits in with climate change and conversations around that, again, probably something for another day, but something to think about. Alphabet, they're the actual parent company of Google. Google had been quite far behind, but they've actually caught up a lot in the last 6 months. They have some great products. If anyone's got an Android phone, you're probably used to Gemini. That's a really good product now. For those poor souls like myself that have an iPhone, unfortunately, we're still stuck with Siri, which isn't AI. But hopefully Apple will get there eventually. They've also done a lot around quantum computing, which will be more beneficial in the future. Meta, who are Facebook, own Instagram, WhatsApp. If anyone's owned WhatsApp recently, you've noticed a little Meta logo in the bottom corner. You can press it and you've got AI chat about your messages. They're a little bit far behind, I would say, in AI. They're very prolific in open source models. They're ones that you can run for free. But again, I'm sure they probably will catch up. In the next slide, I'm just going to give you an idea of where that investment's gone into. So I've taken two that I think are really good examples of AI. So the first one is Salesforce. They make a CRM. You've probably heard of Salesforce before. They announced last year that they're not going to employ any software developers at Salesforce anymore because they've gained a 30% development advantage by using AI-assisted coding, which I'm going to show you a little bit later. So they are not employing any more software developers, which is crazy to think, really. They are a multi-billion-dollar company that are now coding specifically with AI. Klarna, we've probably all seen Klarna, may have not used it. You see it at checkout. They're a payment, kind of like, not loan, but a sort of loan company. They partnered with OpenAI last year to deploy an AI agent for their customer service. There's some headline figures there. So they did 2.3 million conversations. It's doing the work of 700 full-time human staff. And that's an agent. the really key figure there for me is that it resolved customer queries in 2 minutes as opposed to 11 minutes. So Klarna have actually said they are not employing any more customer service advisors anymore. So you can probably see where this is going. I'm not saying the writing's on the wall, but it probably is. And I would say knowledge worker roles, as the cost of AI comes down, they're probably going to be replaced. Again, that might be a slightly controversial opinion, but this has already started happening in larger organizations, and it will filter its way down to small to medium business. So this is how I see AI being split up currently. You have Copilot. I'd be quite interested to know how many people here are using Copilot. Oh, quite a lot. And how many people are paying for the M365 version? Okay, a lesser amount. And how many people think it's good? Great, you're on the same page as me. This is going to be good. So Copilot, we have that. We all know Copilot. Microsoft push it really heavy. Their marketing's really, really great. The product's probably not so great. I think my technical-based colleagues also agree with that statement. You've got application integration. I mentioned that a little bit earlier. That's where we're starting to see things going into line of business applications. So there's AI plugins now for practically everything. Sage, QuickBooks, other applications that you'll probably use for your specific industry. And then there's custom application development, which is something that I really like, which is building a solution to fit your specific need. As I mentioned before, you probably won't be able to go out and get a resolution to any particular problems you've got with an off-the-shelf product because this technology is so new. Some of the stuff I'm going to show you later has only been available for months. But the rate of change in AI is so quick. If you're not looking to develop a specific solution for your needs or for your client's needs, I can almost bet bottom dollar one of your competitors will be. It's a rapidly changing technology. So that's the way I see it broken up. And on to Copilot. So Copilot comes in 3 editions. It comes in Copilot Chat. That's essentially the free version that would say come with Windows 11. You can ask us some questions. And Copilot is wholly based on ChatGPT models. You're not using something proprietary from Microsoft. You're using ChatGPT. They had a partnership established in 2019 where Microsoft gave OpenAI $20 billion to be their strategic data center partner. So everything that you're using in Copilot is all driven in the background by OpenAI and ChatGPT. You've then got the M365 version, which means when you talk to Copilot, it can look at your data in Office 365. That comes at the lovely price of £30 per user per month on an annual commit, which is nearly £300. And if you've got, say, 50, 100, 200, 300 users, that's a lot of money a month to be able to ask something about your documents. And my own personal experience with Copilot is it can be handy. But if you open it in Word and you ask it a question about your document and you say, I want to edit this part, it's not very intuitive. You've got to highlight it and right-click it and click the little Copilot icon. If you've ever used it in PowerPoint and you ask it to create a slide, I tried to do it for this presentation. It failed miserably. It's probably kind of like primary school level sort of PowerPoint. And then in Outlook, obviously, you can draft an email, but you've got to tell it what you want it to draft. And if I have to write what I want it to draft, I'll just write it myself. I have a plugin for my Outlook that will go through all my unread emails, look at the way I write sent messages and compose one for me. And then when I wake up in the morning and start my Outlook, I've got a draft of everything in my inbox. I don't know why Copilot doesn't do that. But we can build that and it wouldn't cost $30 per user per month. So I'm not saying it's a terrible product. I'm saying it's okay. But does it warrant the amount of money that they charge you a month? I think if you're looking at AI and you have a budget, I personally, at the moment, wouldn't be investing it in Copilot. I'd be trying to develop something specific to meet your specific business case. I don't think Copilot is worth the money. And then you've got Copilot Studio. That's a kind of back-end, non-user-facing product. You can create agents in Copilot Studio to perform certain tasks. But again, you need all your data in SharePoint and Office 365. Who's got all their data in SharePoint? We got 2. So that's a waste of time for most people here. So you probably wouldn't use Copilot Studio because, again, you're not going to get a huge amount of value out of it. We're a Microsoft partner. I'm just giving you my honest opinion on what I think of Copilot. Will it get there? Probably. They're investing a huge amount of money. But you could say maybe it won't get there because Windows Phone never got there. Vista never got there. Windows 8 never got there. But we don't know. Time will tell. They're investing a lot of money. But I just think Microsoft are a little bit lost about what they're doing with AI when you compare them to what other labs are doing. Right, use case. Where can we actually use AI? So I've done an accounting use case. So is there any accountants in here? Okay, so you'll be able to hold me to task to this if it's not right. So this was based on a company that I have to remain nameless. And this is around personal tax returns. So say you work for yourself, you've got an accountant, you're going to send some tax information to them before the end of the financial year, and you send your P60 over. So when it gets sent, it might be emailed, it would typically be added to a document management system that would hold your information, your files, so on and so forth. When it's added into the document management system, the time comes where the personal tax return needs to be made. So an accounting clerk will take the P60 document out of the document management system. They'll go through it, take all the data out, and they'll be inputting that into the tax return software. Then they'll make that tax return. They'll get completion back from HMRC, and then they'll go back into the document management system to mark the tax return as complete. So there's a human interaction there where they're kind of taking data out of one system and having to manually transfer it into the. Again, it might not necessarily apply to the accountants in this room, but it does apply to the ones that I spoke to. So that's quite a large task when you've got to do that for potentially thousands of different clients every year. So I've made a little solution for that called Cognitax. And what that does is it takes the data out of the document management system automatically. It looks at the image of the P60. It extracts all the information like a national insurance number and how much money they've made a year. It then puts that into a format where it can automatically be sent to the tax return software and then be submitted to HMRC. So that human role in the middle, where they're doing all that typing and all that transfer of data, that's been completely removed. So what I'm going to do in just a second, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to show you how that works. And then we're going to go through the rest of our demos. Before I do that, I'm just going to explain how much it costs, actually. So hopefully what I'm going to show you in a minute you'll like, but you might sit there thinking this is going to cost an arm and a leg. It actually doesn't. So you're obviously used to subscription-based services. I said Copilot costs around £30 per user per month. If you buy ChatGPT Plus, it's around $20 per user per month. There's another way to use AI, which is through something called tokens. So it's a bit like a pay-as-you-go mobile phone. So when you make a request to the AI model, depending on what that request contains, it costs you a little bit of money. You don't have to pay a monthly fee, you just pay for what you use. So in terms of how tokens work, you buy them in quantities of 1 million. And tokens are essentially a little bit like words. So it might be if I sent a message saying, what's your favourite colour of Labrador? And that's maybe, 30 characters. That might be about 28 tokens as an example. So if we translate out to a P60, that's only 1,000, I think it's 260 tokens in total. It's a very, very small amount. 1 million tokens is around 750,000 words. So it's quite a lot. So if I go ahead and process my P60 in Cognitax, it's actually only costing me 0.0036 cents per P60 processed. So if you translate that to how much it would have been costing a human to do that task, I bet they're not doing it 0.0036 cents to do that task. So it's not horrifically expensive. You just need to manage your budget well. As I said, I don't think subscription service is the most advantageous way of doing that currently. So let me come out of here. I'm just going to switch a USB adapter. So I can use one else. Right. So this is Cognitax. Now, one thing I'll let you know about it, I did not write a single line of code. This whole thing has been developed by AI. I just told the AI coding application what I wanted it to do. Now, it's not as simple as write me a tax piece of software that does this. I mentioned about the prompt engineering earlier and how you write to it and speak to the model. That is critical when you're using it for code. So again, I didn't develop any of this. It's got a nice, I think it looks a relatively nice front end. I'm just going to sign in. So I think it's a wee bit squished there, so I'm just going to zoom out. Okay, cool. So here we have our dashboard. So users would never see this if they're doing that clerical task. So when you get the P60 email to you, I've already emailed one in preparation. You can see some here. That is the image that is emailed in by the client. That's the exact P60 that they've emailed in. Now, traditionally, someone would type this information out and put it into the system. In my extracted tab at the top, that information has been extracted out of that P60 automatically. So I haven't had to do anything. Then down the bottom here, it has a P60, national insurance number. This will make more sense to the accounting people in the room than it does to me. And a UTR. I think that's that universal tax record. No?
Really?
Thank you. Oh, okay. I wasn't too far off. And then at the bottom here, we have all that data in a format called JSON, and that is what is needed to send to a separate system to have it processed. So really straightforward. We can hook this up to any system, document management system or tax system. If I go into my admin section, I've integrated it with HMRC, so I can create a test user if I wanted to. And it's integrated into something called the Microsoft Graph API. So it's monitoring a mailbox in Office 365. So when the P60 comes in, as long as there's a P60 attached to the email, it will automatically take that P60, process it, generate the data, and send it to the tax software. That took this whole dashboard. All the documents are stored in Amazon, so it's all nice and secure. This took me about 16 hours to make. Traditionally, this would have taken perhaps a regular developer weeks, if not months. So when we go back to our Salesforce example, where they've seen a 30% advantage in development timelines, that's what AI is doing for these companies. They're able to develop at an increasingly rapid rate to make solutions, not only for themselves, but also for their customers. So when I say, let's develop a custom solution for you, probably most of you are thinking, this is going to take ages and it's going to cost loads of money. It doesn't need to take ages or cost loads of money because it can be rapidly accelerated through the use of AI. So that is Cognitax. Again, it's a client database. We can hook it into your actual own client database. We can do a lot. So if that's an illustration of how AI works, again, I did not write a single line of code. It did the whole thing for me. And this was written end of last year. The models for coding are significantly improved. So it'd be very easy to improve this quite quickly to add additional features. Next demo. So I'm going to do an AI voice agent demo where I'm going to talk to an AI agent. It's something that we have at Nexus. I'm going to ask it to solve a problem for me, and I'm going to ask it to log a ticket. I can ask anything that I want. It's not being guided. It's completely like natural conversation. The one thing I have to point out is we're at the, peril of the internet here. So I did a little test earlier, and it was a little bit, the speech was a little bit broken. So if it is, you have to take my word for it. It's not my software. It's the internet. So hopefully that goes okay. So I'm going to dial it from Teams. Now this is the kind of thing that the Klarna example that I gave. This is the kind of thing that they're using. This is used for something called the OpenAI Real-Time API. So I'm going to call it now. The name of my bot is Rufus, which is my parents' dog's name, because I couldn't think of anything better at the time. Hopefully it won't pick up any background noise, and hopefully you can hear. If it does break up, I will attempt to recall and do it again.
Connected.
Hi, you've reached the Nexus IT service desk. My name is Rufus. How can I help you today?
My Microsoft Teams client is consistently crashing. Can you help, please?
I'm sorry to hear that you're having trouble with your Microsoft Teams client. Let's try a few steps to resolve the issue. First, have you tried restarting your computer to see if that helps?
Yes, I have tried restarting my computer and it didn't resolve the issue. Is there anything else we can try?
All right, let's try a few more steps. First, can you ensure that your Microsoft Teams is updated to the latest version? You can check for updates by opening the application, clicking on your profile picture in the top right corner, and selecting Check for Updates. Let me know.
Sorry, I've checked for updates already and it hasn't resolved my issue. Can I create a ticket instead?
Of course. Could you please provide me with your full name?
My full name is Simon Gammon.
Thank you, Simon. Could you please spell your last name for me? Just to make sure I have it correct.
Gammon.
Thank you, Simon. Please wait a moment while I raise your support ticket. Your support ticket has been successfully created. The ticket number is T2025040.001. Is there anything else I can help you with?
No, thank you.
You're welcome. If you need any more help, please don't hesitate to ask. Have a great day.
So I think that's quite good. It's very quick, very natural sounding. This is really new. It only came out at the end of last year. So when you hear and how that works, this is the worst it's ever going to be. It's only going to get better. So if I show you in the ticketing system, this is our test one, so there's loads. The reason why I gave Simon's name is it did a contact match against our CRM and logged the ticket, which is why I didn't say Barry Byrne. So if you thought that was a bit weird, that's why that happened. So this is an example ticket. So we've got the description, company name, we've got the client's constantly crashing, we've got some basic core information. I can call back and I can give it a ticket number and it'll read me an update. So where this might be more beneficial for people in this room is, does anyone have an external call handling service like Moneypenny or anything along those lines? Anyone? You've got a couple there. This is a great replacement for Moneypenny, right? So what Moneypenny do for this, you don't know. When your phone lines are busy, it gets directed to Moneypenny. A real person answers. They take a note and they might email it to someone about a client query, or maybe they'll transfer the call to someone. This can completely replace that service. So as an example, I spoke to one account that uses Moneypenny. They spend £12,500 a year for basically people to take a message and transfer a call. If they use AI based on the cost of what this is, which is if you do 150 words a minute for an hour a day, it would cost that company $1,300 as opposed to £12,000 a year. That is a huge cost saving. So another quick question, who has voicemail on their phone system? Yeah, pretty much all of you do. Why would you have voicemail when out of hours someone can answer, they can have a totally natural conversation, they can tell you all about your company and the services that you offer, they can take a message, they can email to you, maybe they'll put an entry in your CRM system about sales leads. It can do all of this. It can bolt into any system that has something called an API. So voice agents are really, really intelligent. And this is something that we're going to be using at Nexus to help cater for call flow. So hopefully that didn't go too bad. There was a couple of little pauses there. Again, that was the internet. So next demo is something called document intelligence. It looks a lot like ChatGPT. It's for document analysis. And again, you're only using what you pay for in this case, because we're using something called an API. Again, it's that pay-as-you-go mobile sort of experience. So on here, we can upload a document. I'm going to just take a Starbucks receipt that I found on the internet. It's going to process the document. You just take a second. Maybe it won't take a second. There we go. So it's taken my Starbucks receipt and it's made it completely digital. I can copy it. So that was pretty quick. That's something called optical character recognition. It's been around for a long time, but it's actually very, very good in AI models. If I do a document instead, I'm just going to grab a test one out of one of my folders. Not sure if that took a load. This is an option where we can ask the document questions. We can summarize it. I can say, give me this certain piece of information and retrieve it. So it's going to first of all generate a summary of the document. Sorry, it's the internet. It is honestly the internet. There you go. So written by me, all the key sections. Again, I can copy it. I've also done a text-to-speech translation. So when you click play, it'll take it and read the summary out to you, and you can download the audio file. So it comes out in a really nice voice. The other thing we can do is ask it questions. So what are the IP SBCs? This is something that I know is in the document. Does this kind of like iPhone type chat thing, and it's giving me the IP addresses out of the SBCs. So I didn't need to go through the document to get information right. So you're chatting about the content that's in the actual document itself. We can do an analysis. So it's 1,400 words, 9,000 characters. Will take about 8 minutes to read. tells me the style, amount of sentences. Again, if you work with legal documents, large documents of property, this can be actually really, really helpful. SAF document intelligence, we've taken it one step further, and something that we're developing at the moment, which I call WorkplaceGPT. So this is very, very similar to ChatGPT, right? But it's not going to cost anyone $20 a month per user. It's going to cost you what you actually use. So you get charged per message. So if I put in here, what is the population in the UK? There's our answer. So what I can do is I can select different OpenAI models, or you can restrict this to certain models. Again, certain models, depending on how intelligent they are a certain cost. We can also not just have this restricted to ChatGPT models. We could use models from Anthropic or DeepSeek or whoever, because different models are better at different tasks. So in my Cognitax example, which is looking at the P60, I'm not using any ChatGPT based models there at all. I'm using one called Claude 3.5 from Anthropic because it's very, very good at image analysis. So you pick the right model for the correct purpose. So this is completely customizable. A feature that I like in it is we can save prompts. So if I'm asking something regularly about documents that I have to type it out again, I can save them and just say, use this particular prompt. And we're also working on a administration dashboard. This is what you'll see in the background. To be able to see exactly how many tokens that you've used, to be able to provision users, so on and so forth. So think of this almost like an internal version of ChatGPT, but again, you're not buying a subscription for everyone. You're just paying for what you used and your invoice at the end of the month. This is a great way of not making that huge initial investment by, say, buying 100 Copilot licenses or 100 ChatGPT Plus licenses. You can use this basically ad hoc, and people can use it as and when they want, and you're not paying out that monthly or an annual fee. Does that make sense? Okay, brilliant. Next part is, I think I've done all my demos. Oh no, I haven't, sorry, video, which is really cool. So OpenAI and many mods. Did anyone see the video we put out on social media of the van setting on fire? I'll play it for you in a second. So video in AI is very, very good now. So I'm going to play you a reel now that all I've done is use a prompt. I haven't put any images in at all. I've just told it what I want it to do. This is using something called Sora in OpenAI. So you kind of get Nexus in the milk. It's quite cool. This is a little harder to see. There's Nexus in the leaves. This is my personal favourite. I was quite proud of this one. So it's in the phone.
It's the great bit.
And the last one, it doesn't look too real, but it's Heinz ketchup. So all of this was generated by me typing something. So if you think of short form media now is very prolific in terms of advertising and marketing, you can make a really effective 1080p 20-second long video yourselves. You don't necessarily have to get a marketing firm involved. Sorry if there's anyone here from a marketing firm. This doesn't cost a huge amount. This is in a ChatGPT subscription. It's unlimited in terms of the amount of videos that you can actually generate. For the one that we did for our promo, if you didn't see it, is this one.
Are you feeling behind with artificial intelligence? Does the amount of AI information available make you feel like you're going to explode? Then join us for our half-day event, where you'll learn and see how you can make the most of artificial intelligence for your business, including how every component of this video was AI generated.
So that there was used me uploading still images. So it's a still image of the van, just one of the pictures that one of my colleagues took. I uploaded it into a video tool called Kling, and I told it to set the van on fire, and it made a video of the van setting on fire. The cup at the end was a picture from our kitchen, and I told it to animate the cup over to the kettle as like a little robot, and it did it. And all of this is done literally just by typing stuff. And it's getting even better almost on a weekly basis. So again, if you're looking to make videos for your company for marketing reasons, AI is a really good way of doing that now, and at a significantly small cost. So Kling, which is the tool that I use for that particular video, you can create those for literally probably $2 or $3 a video, and that's all it costs. I added the music separately. So again, I think it's a really great use of AI. So that's the conclusion of my demonstrations. We're going to go into Q&A.
Slightly more interesting than the copper switch off, maybe.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think hopefully everyone's minds are quite blown, full of questions of how you can now use it in your business. So because we're recording it, I'm going to repeat every question just so that we can capture it on the video. But who's going to go first? Who's going to start us off with a question? Emily.
So your customer service demo, where the machine ultimately recorded a ticket from that inquiry.
Yeah.
How close would you be for the machine to start trying to help with that inquiry and logging onto the machine and solving it for you?
That's not actually that far away. So though you have to be a developer in a certain tier, but they have something called the Computer Use API, and that allows the AI model to control your mouse on your machine, and it does that by taking screenshots of your screen very, very quickly, and then issuing an instruction to move the mouse. So I would say general access to that will probably be in the next few months. That would require something installing on the user's machine, like an agent, and then when you're on the phone to the, what as I call it, Rufus, he would then be able to control your machine with your permission. That's not that far away. Anthropic already have one, which is their computer use model. It's relatively good, but it's not great. But to answer your question, that's going to be very pricey. I'll probably
Would it be safe with this thing or letting someone into your computer?
That's correct. I can show you after. I have a demo of that, of a bit control of someone's machine. It's called Operator. When we create things like the voice agent, we're giving it this huge prompt to restrict what it can and can't do. The prompts are used to control the model in the best they can. It's not a complete definitive, it's going to follow that. There's always going to be areas where it may stray away. I think around safety, around machine use, maybe 6 months away, I think. But it will definitely come.
Anyone else? Oh, sorry, I saw you first.
You spoke about being the year of the agents.
Yeah.
If we want to build an agent,
Yeah.
should we be able to build it ourselves, or will we need to come talk to you?
I'm just going to repeat that just so we can grab it. So the year of the agents, can we build them internally, or do we need to go to an expert to build agents?
You can. So in Copilot, agents exist already, but they're only really for interaction with offer data that's an offer to side. If you want to build an agent specific to your organisation, you will need to develop that using something called a software development kit. If you have internal developers, then that is something they can definitely use. And these software development kits, now the recent ones from OpenAI, they're actually quite straightforward to use to get to the point of building your own agent. If you don't have software development expertise in-house, you would need to use a company like Nexus. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Adrian.
This is a positive question, so it sounds negative, but it's not.
Thank you.
What you're doing, or what AI is doing, not you, I'm not going to. What AI is doing is creating certain conditions that we as humans actually don't know how to deal with yet.
Correct.
So how are we going to train the humans to take care and deal with the technology overhang that AI is creating?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Should I just repeat that? So how do we train humans to deal with the changes that AI are bringing?
That is a good question. I think there's a lot of social impact that AI is going to cause. In the Klarna case, with the customer service replacement, they were trying to get internal employees to embrace AI more and said that if we could automate more things internally, we will delegate you to different tasks and we will increase your pay. So they're saying the more we can automate, the more money we've alleviated, and that will therefore increase your wage. I think there's going to need to be a huge amount of conditioning for people around what AI is going to do. I think there's a lot of people that are sort of, the best way I can put it is in like AI denial, like this isn't coming, this is coming. It may well get completely clamped down by government legislation. The thing is, I don't think it will, because it's a huge revenue generator. There'll be a massive revenue generator for governments. So it's a difficult question to ask, but it is a really good question. as you kind of put, say, voice agents out into a company, it's ultimately going to affect staff. And you have to kind of train into this. This is there to help you to alleviate your time so you can do something else. It doesn't necessarily mean your role is now redundant. So that's how we should be used. In the future, is AI going to cause job losses in certain sections? I think that's absolutely inevitable. Again, that's just my personal opinion, because the rate of development changing is so rapid, and ultimately companies want cost savings. So, yeah, I don't know if that's answered your question or not, but that's my opinion.
It sort of leads on to the next bit.
Yeah.
You made a statement during the conversation there, which was, that's a question for another day.
Yeah.
If we leave it for another day, it's going to be too late. So actually, as a developer of AI,
Yeah.
how can you start to develop AI
Yeah.
to prepare the way for humans?
I think it's the AI things like the conversational AI is yeah, it's a good question. Yes, it's how businesses put it to staff. If I was running a business and I was going to use AI for conversational agent, my customer service representatives would be redeployed to do something else. And if it wasn't something else, they wouldn't have a job. Because at the end of the day, the AI agent is you can't make it mad. You can shout down the phone as much as you want. It doesn't get angry. It can access huge amounts of data instantly, and it can often deal with, as we saw in the Klarna case, customer satisfaction was increased. So if a customer comes and says they want to develop something, we can develop it for them, but the customer has to have that conversation with the employees internally in reference to what they're actually using that AI for. And again, AI is not about job replacement. That's not what it's about. It's about making your time more efficient. That the job replacement, yes, may come down the line, but if I'm looking at building a solution for a customer, it's to meet a requirement to benefit their time. So hopefully that answers. It's quite a long conversation to have, but yeah, it's a difficult topic. Any more questions?
Andy.
On the document one that you showed,
Yeah.
what does it do with the data you feed into it? So does it make it for everybody to see? Say if I had contracts in work that I wanted to create something that it skip over to look for certain things that would slip you up. Does that document then go into that system that anybody to gain information from that, or does it say private?
So how secure is the document system with the input of information that you're giving it?
Yeah, so the second one, so in document intelligence, that document is for you personally. It's stored on the server. You interact with it, and when you're finished, the document is deleted. It's worth just saying for everyone that any information you send to any AI provider, OpenAI or Anthropic, they keep that data for 30 days minimum. You can get something called zero data retention. You have to pay them a lot of money or be a really big organisation. In the WorkplaceGPT example that I gave you, that uses something called RAG, which is a way of storing data, and you've got the option of making those documents public for everyone or keeping them just for yourself. So it might be you're working with a team of people on a document, and rather than all upload it individually, you can essentially be shared. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Vic.
So for me, the big question is how this impacts on people with neurodiverse conditions. So somebody with ADHD, for example, wants to speak to a human because of the way ADHD people interact.
Yeah.
And these voice models really don't hack it, and you find a lot of people with ADHD throwing the phone down, not getting the service answered. What is the progress to getting that point where not just it has a brief conversation, but it goes into a lot of detail?
Sure.
We talked about this bit in the office, so how are we going to make these agents, these robots, be more human? Because like you say, a lot of people want to actually speak to a real human, and I think you, Barry, were talking about it's all about input.
Yeah, so in that particular topic or interaction with voice agents, so I gave you a very quick example there, so then send you all soup back my team's time question. But you can have it, the way that the prompt's written is, let's say I was a customer calling that, and you've gone through certain steps. In that prompt, I've said that if you notice that the customer is frustrated, and that's not for your particular case, but could you apply? If you notice frustration in their tone, or they say, I want to speak to someone, it will automatically then transfer that to an available person or agent. In our case, if you've got frustration over it, it's like, okay, There's no point. Well, let's just raise a ticket. That's how you get to speak to you in our case. But you can train it to say, all right, if you notice something in a tone, actually it's going to stop the user and say, look, I can understand you're getting frustrated. I'm now going to transfer you to a human to speak. So there are things that we can do to cater for certain scenarios. Yes, I agree. This is where artificial intelligence does lack. It's around emotional intelligence, right? A lot of people say AI will never be like a human because it won't have emotions. That's true for the moment. That might not be so true down the line. But we can certainly train it in a way where it can cater for scenarios like that. I think if you phone services at the moment, they definitely don't cater for that scenario. They're very robotic and don't particularly deal well with certain customers' frustrations. But they can be addressed. I think that's something that will improve over time. But I do agree with your analysis initially. Yeah, it's not great.
And it might be that you have two different phone numbers that you make clear that this is an AI agent and this is a human, and you give that person the option. So there's ways. Go for it, John.
Just following on from that, yesterday I was in Bristol, and I had part my current in mid-afternoon on the other side of Bristol, and I had a bad feeling. I went back onto your parking app, and I discovered that I had parked and gone to the hotel, got the permit, so I spoke to the hotel. The receptionist actually left her desk, went to find my car, the car park, and ascertained that I was in completely the wrong car park, 2 car parks.
Yeah.
But then Gabe said, but I've given you the Ringo code, so you can actually, so you can either come back and move it to the right car park, or
Sure.
and that's great for me.
Yeah.
But you say basically AI couldn't replace.
No, AI, it's you've actually
Physical.
emotional intelligence piece.
Yeah.
AI couldn't do that.
Yeah, it
but
can't.
2 phone numbers would fix it.
Yes, giving
Or-
people the option.
Yeah, it's the option. Or if you're going to use AI, as I said, you need to train it in a way that it then knows, okay, this needs to go to a human. It's about how you train it and how you prompt it. But yeah, it's not going to replace everything. There's always jobs that it can't do. Like it can't walk out to the car park. Maybe in the future we get robots that can. Which yeah, it's an interesting conversation. But for now, no, it won't replace it. There's something that I couldn't demo to you today, but I can show you if you want to. There is a vision model in something called advanced voice mode, where it will take the camera feed and it can tell you exactly what's in front of you. And it's technology like that that will be built into things like robots. And an example where that might be used in businesses, if you work in property and you need to go around and do surveys of properties that have been let out and you're looking for damage, you can use a vision model to take a complete assessment of that room and then provide a report after. I need to do it, share it to the projector. I can't. But if you want to see that after this presentation, I'll be more happy to show you.
Stuart, okay.
Yeah, I think that was great. Thank you, Barry.
Oh, thank you very much.
I thought so many user cases. How would you suggest we apply that to our own business so we can review AI utilization?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when I talk to customers on the phone, they often say, we want to use AI. We want to use Copilot. And I go, okay, what do you want to use it for? And they go, we don't know. just everyone's using it. We want to use it too. It's almost like a scarcity mentality, right? Everyone's using AI, we need to use it. You need to establish what for. I think there's almost like an assessment of where are your pain points in your business that you currently can't cater for with traditional automation. Or perhaps, we've got this, like I said earlier, we've got this certain role and it takes X amount of hours a week. It involves a machine. Currently it requires some sort of intelligence, or we need to apply to our specific sector. I don't know what you guys do. Sorry, what sector do you work in?
Technology-enabled care, taking care, so
Okay.
provide health tech and
Okay.
tenders probably.
So yeah, it might be something, okay, technology, it might be in your case alerts, it could be ticketing systems, all sorts of different things. But I think you do need almost to do an assessment, because you could spend a lot of money on AI and come out with, I think, really very intelligent. You just spent a lot of money on making it do something or tiny or monotonous tasks. You want to make sure you get good return on investment. So I think you need to assess what pain points you've got across your business, not just in IT. Like the tax accounting thing, that wasn't an IT problem. It was we're spending loads of hours with someone manually inputting data into a machine at a certain time of the year. Okay, we can build something to solve that and alleviate that time. So when we've spoken to customers, I normally say, well, exactly that question, what things don't you like doing? And then say, right, how can we apply AI to it? So I hope that answers your question. It's almost like an assessment, sort of.
Well, thank you. We've always considered you need to do more things, you more people, whereas now it's how can I use the tools?
Well, that's it. It's exactly that. So if you've got a task, do you need to use a human for it anymore? that's the thank you.
So that.
Paul, go.
Thanks, Barry. Yeah, that was really good. I've got one question. We've been looking at agents, and the Microsoft agent is quite pricey.
Yeah.
I think a year ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And your voice interaction with it, obviously, that's pretty cutting edge.
Yeah.
Could you expand it to, say, if it was a customer and they wanted to find out about where their order was, can it talk to your back-end data?
Yeah, absolutely. So ordering systems is one of the examples that OpenAI give. So you can call in, you can ask for, say, an order number, then go off to a proprietary system, providing it's got an API. So we'll do an API call, find the order, and then give the person an update. And that's actually really easy to do. So yes, it can. You can definitely do that. There is.
At the back.
So, the document intelligence,
Yeah.
we've looked at using syntax for taking PDFs of invoices, supplier invoices, and then creating an Excel file, a daily Excel file for importing into our accounts system.
Yeah.
How does something like system you built, document intelligence, how does that compare price-wise with syntax?
So document intelligence, it runs on, I'll show you an example of like really how really cheap you could do it if you developed it. It runs on a server that costs $5 a month. And it's using API tokens, so you load credit, you go on there, so you put $10 on it and it uses it. Now, depending on how big your spreadsheet is, that will denote how many tokens you used and what the price is. But yeah, if it's a small spreadsheet, it could have about 40, 50,000 tokens. The token costs vary depending on the intelligence of the model. So if you're using a relatively intelligent model, it's around $3 for tokens going in. That's the data you feed into it. And it's $15 for tokens out. That's what it produces. The out cost is more because they're actually processing the request for it. So it is difficult to say. How much is the solution that you were looking at?
I hadn't got as far as...
Okay.
I knew the syntax wasn't cheap.
Okay. Yeah, we can build something like document intelligence for not a lot of money really. And again, pretty much everything I showed you there, I didn't write any code. I didn't write any code for document intelligence either. And AI built it for me.
As a developer, does that improve your scope and your range? Is it something that now, with the knowledge you had before coding, and you've got a whole other suite of skills that basically...
Yeah, so I'll give you a bit about my background. I've never been a software developer in my life. I've never done software development. I started out with networking, and then I somehow fell into voice. Some of you know me with Microsoft Teams background, but I have no development background whatsoever. When I started looking at or investigating AI, I understood the power of being able to prompt correctly. And if you can ask it a question, don't get me wrong, when you develop these things using AI, you have to write you still have to solve problems. It still gets things wrong. You have to go, okay, why has it done that? So you've still got to apply a level of your own intelligence to get to where you want to be, but it's actually writing the code for you. But yeah, I mean, as I say, I've developed the applications now. I would never be able to have done if I did not have an AI coding assistant. But again, that is only efficient if you know how to prompt well. If you don't prompt well, you get rubbish applications. But yeah, I mean, I've learned a lot from it. So yeah, I think it's very, very beneficial.
Andy?
The AI that you're showing us now is really advanced. How advanced is the stuff that won't let us have?
Things like that.
Good question. So they don't say a lot on the coding front though. So there's a model that's going to come out later this year that is a full O3. There are benchmarks for coding in science and maths. So in a coding benchmark in America, they have tests that humans go through to rank on this benchmark of how proficient that person is at coding. There's 2,000 people on that list. The models at the moment are around 300, which is pretty good. OpenAI state they've got a model that will rank 50, and they think by the end of the year they will have surpassed the best human coder on the planet. So I think they've got a lot of stuff that we're not aware of. It's extremely good. To get access to this, if you want all the cutting edge stuff, yeah, it's a little expensive. The pro subscription for ChatGPT, where you can get access to this model first, is $200 a month. That's per person. That's a lot. But businesses don't necessarily need that. Yeah, it's difficult to say what they've got, but I think they've got a lot of stuff they don't tell people about. Hopefully we'll find out. I think it's really exciting. It's a really exciting industry. The rate of change is amazing. I think it's going to do a lot of good, but hopefully it doesn't do a lot of bad. But yeah, it's an exciting industry to be in.
Vic.
With you said you were never coded before, but you learned models or you learned pricing.
Yeah.
What would be the best way for us to learn that sort of thing? Where could we get that information from? Most of us use ChatGPT in kind of very basic form.
Yeah, so what you can use if you want to get started on coding is you can download something called, I'd recommend this is for technical people, because it still requires an element of technical ability or knowledge, should I say. You can download something called VS Code, and it's got something called GitHub Copilot. There's a free version. So you log into VS Code, it's got a little chat window on the side, and you can say, write me a digital clock in Python, which is a programming language, and it'll just write you one. Honestly, the best thing to do is read and watch YouTube. There's a lot of good resources. It's time saturating. It's taking me a long time to get to. It's taking me a long time to get to the point where I can write an application that is fully functional. It's not something you're going to be able to, zip home, put a catalog and then get there. I'm sure it'll get there in the future, though. Don't get me wrong. But it's taken quite a while to get there. But yeah, if you want to learn, reading is the best way to go. Watching YouTube resources, some loads of really good stuff. And how to get started there. There's a question in the back left.
The onset of the past is human intelligence theory.
Yeah.
How do we know the answer to the right? So at the moment, the type of question we get a really random answer.
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So when you type a question and you get a random answer you know is wrong, in the AI world that's called a hallucination, and it's a term for it doesn't know what the answer is, so it makes one up. And that's the way that in the model I mentioned before that Google came up with, this transformer architecture. The way that it works is, you probably think when you ask it a question, it's got some sort of database. If you ask it this question, it's got an answer. That's not how it works. It's all based on predictions. So it will look at the words that you've written and it will predict what the best answer is for that question. It's not fact-based. So yeah, we won't necessarily know it's right, because even when you get to artificial general intelligence, it's still being trained from a model that may or may not have the correct information. Likewise, how do we know it's not being biased? So one big thing last year around the US political election was certain models are more biased to Trump and certain models are more biased to Biden, because it depends on who's training the model. And there's a lot of things to get different discussion. A lot of things about investment into political parties, technology companies, and how that's influencing data in their model. So it's a good question. It's one that I don't have an answer to, and we're probably never really going to know. But AI isn't getting everything right all the time. It'll give you instructions when you won't be right. That's why they've complemented it now with search functionality to try and get up-to-date information from the internet, because it doesn't know. So yeah, I don't know the answer to that question. We'd probably just have to assume.
So let's hallucinations get worse. If it's learning of itself, it's got hallucination there. It's learning of the hallucination.
Yeah, hallucinations are a massive problem, just in general. And different models have less. And if you get time, if you Google what they call the system papers, they're again quite a long thing to read, but it gives you an idea of what their hallucination rate is. But yeah, some models have got better with that, some models have got worse. It's something they're trying to change. But again, it's not as easy as just saying, you can't just say don't lie or don't make something up, because it's not a fact-based system. It's doing stuff based on predictions of relationships between words. So that's why it comes up with these random answers. It's not a yes or no, it's not black and white, essentially. So yeah, it could get worse over time. But like with anything, we just have to trust what companies do. People will get in a Tesla and let the car drive themselves. It's all built on AI and vision. So yeah, I'm sorry, probably doesn't answer your question. It's more of a hypothetical question, really, and something that I know.
Any more? Are we done? Done with questions? Okay, thank you, Barry. Thanks again. Thank you very much, Barry.